Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. ReadswithRosa podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educator spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, taking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. Here we are, another week, another episode. Thank you to everyone who's been rocking with me on the regular, supporting and sharing the love. I appreciate it so much. I think about a month ago, I tweeted about how I have this wish list, just of people that I want to invite to the show because, there's nothing wrong with dreaming, right? Wow, fam, today's guest is from that wish list. As you can see, I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be all cool. Clearly, a bit excited over here. So without further ado, I would like to introduce this week's guest. He is the son of an immigrant, a bilingual hip-hop Afrobeat artist, born in Paris, France, but his parents are from the Comoros Islands, East Africa. He was raised in Washington, D.C., eventually moved to Brooklyn to pursue his rap career. He is currently based out in Paris, France. Welcome to the show, Napoleon Da Legend.
What's up, bro? Rosa, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I know, time difference and stuff. But we're making it work. So thank you so much for coming through.
You're welcome. I'm honored.
Okay, so Napoleon Da Legend, man. Tell us, I don't want to give too much there in the intro. Tell us a little bit about yourself and really just how your journey in terms of hip hop and rapping, how did that begin? Where did it start?
Well, it started, when my family moved to America when I was like around 4 years old in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area. We call it DMV, D.C., Maryland, VA, because it's like right next to each other. And growing up there, it was just a little bit of a culture shock because, my parents are from the Comoros Islands, so we're, African, traditional family, quote unquote traditional, not super traditional, but just learning the language and, you hear the radio, you turn on the TV, you go to school, your friends are like rapping or telling you about these songs. And that's the first introduction to hip hop. So it's like, it's almost as if, I grew up in it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always around, even before I knew how to define it, I knew what it was. So just a fan of it. And it was incredible at the time because it was evolving and progressing so fast, like you went from like the Public Enemies and the KRS's, and then you got to the Wu-Tangs, the Dre's, the Nas's, the Tribe Called Quest and everything like that. It was just evolving. You could just see every year, every 6 months, somebody was doing something new and everything. So I was just a big fan of it. And eventually when I seen friends around me do it, I was just curious. And it was just a fun thing. We would just have fun. Like we'd be at the party and they'll have a microphone. You pick up the mic, you spit some bars. You know what I'm saying? I'll be at home. My friend let me borrow like a little recorder. I would record myself over instrumentals and things like that. From there, like I just never looked back. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really know what it meant to be like an artist, like professionally at all. It was just a fun thing, but it's just something I couldn't go without. Then like finally, after a while, it just, I just kept it up, man. I figured out that this is what I want to do,
And were you always a writer though? Like, like artists have the, when you hear rappers, they tell these stories like, I was writing rhymes when I was in the fifth grade, third grade, whatever. Like, was that something that you were doing or was it just really just?
No, I mean, I don't remember quite right, but like, I think when I started becoming a fan of rap and when I started doing it, when I seen my friends do it, they gave me the thing to write, and then I would just write all the time, but I would write rhymes, you know what I mean? So I was never like, I used to write poems and things like that.
Yeah.
Rap gave me the interest to write, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I'll be in school, like teacher talking about math or something, and I'll be scribbling rhymes. You know what I'm saying? That's what I used to do all the time, and without even thinking about it. You know what I'm saying?
Who was do you remember the first like live act hip hop rap group that you ever, a show that you ever got to go to? I mean, were you able to go to a show as you were growing up, or was it really just once you moved to Brooklyn that you kind of relate around the culture that you kind of got into it?
I was telling my boy the other day, like growing up, like I'm talking about my teenage years, like I wasn't around like shows or anything like that. So it wasn't like I was in New York. Like hip hop was more something that you would hear when you go to a party, when you hear cars going by, when you play basketball, you would play music on the side. But I never seen it like done live in a concert setting. I just didn't have those opportunities back then. And I think the first show might be, I'm not sure, might have been Black Moon actually. And it's kind of ironic because I ended up, meeting most, if not all, of the Boot Camp Clique and DJ Evil D and all that later on. I think we went to a party and they were performing. So it was the first time I seen it like live in the flesh, which was cool. It's just I didn't have that experience with growing up. Like I would go to shows or I see people doing it in the park or anything like that. Now, it's something
sneaking into the club to catch a show.
Well, when I was like 16, I was managed by these big club promoters in DC called the Mad Power Unit. Shout out to Tupac, D, and Dominique Moxie, and they did the biggest clubs in DC. They did like the Ritz and DC Live at the time, and so I used to go in the clubs. I was underage, so it's like I had that where I would be able to like go in the clubs and everything like that, and listen to the music and peep the vibes and everything. And it was incredible to me. But I really started seeing more shows when I started performing. I was opening up for people. I opened up for Five Dog, rest in peace. Opened up for Ghostface in DC. I opened up for Nelly in DC, Busta Rhymes. Like a lot of people, that's before I even moved to New York. A lot of people don't know that this part of my thing, of my path. But then when I went to New York, I just went to shows all the time because I used to be invited here, invited there. There's a lot of free festivals, stuff like that. We used to I saw a lot. I learned a lot too.
Were you ever like the fan, like you'd come across like Busta Rhymes, or you'd come across these major, like these big names in hip hop, and rap? Were you like ever the fan, or were you just like, nah, I'm going to be cool now. I just need to.
Yeah, I'm more cool. I'm more of a cool person. It's like I just I don't want to bother people. You know what I'm saying? That's my whole personality. It's like I know I like music. There's a few dudes that I've seen. Like I remember walking in the street one day at Times Square. Back before I was living in New York, I would go to New York sometimes and see Cool G rap. I stepped up to him and I was like, "Yo, respect. I like what you do," and that's that, But like, I remember also, and during that time, I used to go to New York a lot. I went to the Knitting Factory, and I seen it was a Little Brother show, and DJ Premier was performing with the NYGs, and Guru was at the bar chilling, like. And I wish now, looking back, that I would have like stepped up to Guru and just shook his hand at least and just tell him how much I appreciated him. But it was just like, oh yeah, that's Guru. Okay, cool. That's what's up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, I don't know what to, I don't know if they care to hear whatever I got to say. So unless I'm really compelled to say something to somebody, I'll just let them live. That's who I am. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. So that's hip hop, but in terms of like rap music, but were you hearing any other music? Like, were you from a musical family? Like, what kind of music were you hearing when you were growing up? Right? I mean, you've got your African roots there. Like, I know you're also an Afrobeat artist. Like, was that around you as you were growing up, or were you?
Yeah, it's definitely around me. You can still hear me, right?
I can hear you, bro. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I was around a lot of African music because of my father. So we listen to for different parts of Africa, you know what I mean? Comorian music, music from Congo, music from Ivory Coast, a lot of Caribbean music like zouk, compa, and different things like that. Reggae music, my dad would listen to a lot of like Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, a lot of reggae. So it was mostly the music that was around me, and there was a little bit of like, you know, R&B, soul music too, you know, like Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, stuff like that. So it was a mix of a whole bunch of music that I would listen to growing up. You know what I'm saying? That definitely molded who I was. You know what I mean? Because I mean, hip hop was mostly like what I listened to on my own. You know, I tune into, you know, I have get a tape from a friend or something like that, or get some CDs from the store and listen to that. But with around the family, it was more like traditional African Caribbean style music.
Yo. Okay, I want to switch it up a little. I want to talk about your political awakening. I watched this clip from the Michael Brooks show. Rest in peace, Michael Brooks, political commentator, podcast host, and you were talking about and I've actually heard you said on several interviews, you call yourself like the anti-rapper. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Me and my rap and people, I think that the people that listen to what I do, I think that's probably what draws them to it. There's not a persona, too much of a persona between like who I am and what I put down on the mic. You know, like what you get is mostly who I am. And in music and rap and entertainment is a lot of marketing, branding, and things like that. And people, you know, they'll wear a mask, or that's the more extreme cases, or they'll like you'll see MF Doom go from, you know what I'm saying, before then wear a mask and become a villain or something like that. And though you see different facets of my personality, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's really me. Although like parts of like I would relate 100% to rap and all types of rap, like that was me. That was the first music that actually spoke to me, and like, yeah, I belong to this. This is my culture. There was a lot of stereotypes that came with rap too, that I was like, okay, this is a little bit over exaggerated or overdone. And I listen to French rap as much as I listen to American hip hop. And what I liked about French rap is, for example, groups like I Am in France, they sounded like real people. Like they would talk about a lot of like more everyday stuff, like talk about their families, talk about things that you hear rappers talk about, but it's only like one side of the story, and it's a very narrow side of the story. Like I have hardly heard like a lot of rappers in the mainstream speak about, you know, having a job or something like that, or doing something like that. And you think these rappers never had jobs, like all of them, or you know, like regular human experiences.
Right.
And I feel like I want to break that barrier down so everyday people could relate. It's not only is it an escape, it's also like a communication. I'm expressing that, you know, like this is a human experience, and I'm going to talk about the whole human experience, not like that little bit that's always like, it might be more exciting to hear about street stuff, about, you know, people getting killed and drugs getting sold, and, you know, like you know, people getting kidnapped and things like that. It's exciting. It's like seeing an action movie. But from an art standpoint and from a narrative storytelling standpoint, it's also like feeling alone. It's also about, you know, getting your heart broken. It's also about, and I just feel like I'm here to speak about my whole story and give people a whole sense of, like, to me, it's like a humanity project. Like, it's about the overall humanity of it. And that's what I try to convey. That's why I call myself the anti-rapper, because for people also outside of hip hop, they have this stereotype of what a rapper is or what it should be. And we saw it, like, even when we was going to school, they used to call us the rappers. And it almost seeming like it was like a bad connotation, like we were the bad kids or something like that. And it was like, wow, we just love to do this. Why are you categorizing this? You're looking at us like that. And I think we need to break stereotypes, because stereotypes can be dangerous, because they're used also a lot to communicate to people, to manipulate people into thinking, Yeah, all young black men are thugs and they're dangerous. So when you see one coming, you need to cross the street when it could be like the nicest person in the world. Or and there's a lot of stereotypes that are permeated, and I think it's important to like break them, when you can, because they don't. Anybody could be whatever. It could be the white guy in the suit, the old white man in the suit. That's the worst crook in the world, and you wouldn't think that because the stereotype is that they're the ones with the money and they're always good. They're always nah. Like we all have all that stuff in us, and I just take it as a challenge upon myself to paint that full picture.
I love it. That's why I love your music, bro. Like,
Yeah.
let me just tell you, this is how I actually discovered your music or discovered who you were. Was I was listening to Out the Box Talks with Krill. You did an interview with Krill, and then like I usually tune in, and I've actually discovered a lot of indie art, like hip hop artists through there. So cool, man. Then I was listening, I was like, hey, and you were actually talking about the Dragon Ball G, Dragon
Yeah.
Ball that. You were talking about that, and I was like, hey. Then I looked it up and I listened. I was like, yo, because I was like, what, Japan anime? I was like, yo, this is so dope. And then I was like, Moses, this guy has put out like so many projects, man. So I listened to that interview, and that's how I came across your music. And I like how I've heard you talk about your music, and you say, just your career, and you say things like, you do the fun rap with the Afrobeat, which I love.
Right.
But you also like to talk about real issues, like you've already said. These real issues out there. There are things going on around the globe that people don't even want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like how you also say you don't force it. You're just trying to be nice with it. You're just, and
Right.
I love that. Like I just think, even though, even some of your music, like even if a story doesn't resonate or an experience doesn't resonate with me, there's always some kind of message that I go, yo, that's a life skill. Oh, that's something you can apply in this situation, right? So yeah, man, I became hooked on your music. I was like, yo, this guy's got something to say, and it's
Thank
different. Like you said, it's fun, but just that real talk, that a lot of in this like world that we're living in right now, this day and age of technology and the things that are people with platforms, they're putting things out there that just really kind of disguise the real issues and the real
Yeah.
problem that people are going through.
Yeah. I think that we don't realize how this world works because there's so much things that numbers and it's easy to live in a box, and most of us, we don't know we're living in a small box where we only
Mhm.
perceive what's going on around us and our problems, and without looking at the big picture. And hip hop, I felt like a lot of the stories weren't being told. And I think it's in general when you watch TV, entertainment, you go online, it's a lot of things to be like, yo, just buy more stuff and just consume, just keep consuming and let us like run the world, and don't worry about kids in Kenya and Nairobi that are getting high, that have no parents, and this new generation of like they're making more kids and that are like that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about climate change. There's a heat wave all over America. That's nothing. We'll take care of that. And I think it's depoliticized a lot of people, and people are like, man, politics is nothing ever changes, or let's not even worry about it. Let's just get money. And especially in America, it's like the solution to everything. The let's say the black community is behind every other community monetarily and things like that. Well, we have to be more entrepreneurial. We have to get money. We have to get money. No, like the we need to get political. We need to have more political leverage. And because all these other communities, somehow are more organized, and they use their leverage to get more help from the government. And the government is all of our money being put together, and they decide like where it goes. And I think it's easy for us to lose sight of that reality when it's like, you think you have it bad. There's people that have it worse. And we're able to go to the store and buy all these things because some people are suffering not too far away right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we forget that. And even within, like, let's say within the United States, the same thing. You might live in New York. There's a lot of opportunities there. You could get a job, you could do this. But what if you lived in Kentucky? What if you live in the Appalachians where people just have nothing? And they can't do anything. But you can live in America, not even know or think about these things. You don't know, like they're trying to build pipelines that go through Native American traditional lands and things like that. Like there's a lot of things that are going on, and the more we're aware of it, the more slowly we can move forward. And if we're just all about the bag, without us looking, society is going to move backwards because there's a lot of people that wanted to move backwards because it benefits them and they have a lot of money and a lot of power. And I'm all about, the people always come first, like the title of that song. The people always come first. And we need to remember that if we are not aware and active about what's going on in our societies and our worlds, the people with power and money are going to end up just keep benefiting, and we're going to end up still being exploited.
I know for a while there, for a while there, when you're coming up, you were working in the community. When you're out in Brooklyn,
Yeah,
you're working in
yeah.
the community. You were doing some hip hop workshops with young people in schools and going out to Rikers Islands. What was it like, giving back, being able to just use your platform to go back into the community and see these young people who have dreams but have, been maybe perhaps out of their control, being put in
Yeah.
these situations where they're, the struggle and stuff. Like, what was that like for you to be able to go back and just give a little,
No, it was great.
inspire?
Because once again, I got educated about a lot of things working in these programs, like trauma, like
Mm,
how trauma works, and how to approach people who have been through a lot of trauma and things like that. Because you're working it with kids in, like, quote unquote bad neighborhoods, and they might be part of dysfunctional families, drug use, and a lot of things like that. So you have to understand a certain thing might trigger people, and
mm,
it's good to give the gift of art and music and creation in
mm,
schools where they more or less feed your left brain, and creativity comes from the right brain. So it's
mm,
it's a it's a good balance. So we used to go to like prisons too, like Rikers Island, and do hip hop workshops for the kids. And you see young kids that are like 18 years old that are locked up, and then you go to high schools and you teach kids in the schools, and you realize it's like there's no difference. It's not like the criminal is like some crazy person or whatever. They
mm,
just probably made a mistake, or they part of a bad neighborhood, which is like everybody's part of a gang or something like that. They're just
mm,
surviving the best way they can, doing what their friends are doing. And it's good to, like, one, uh give them a break, like a mental break where they could actually create and not be told what to do all day, or not be told what to learn, like actually make something which is valuable. And also you also see like how impressionable and how music affects their mind in a way where it's like, as an artist, you know, even though I have to be real to me and express and be authentic, and sometimes what comes out of my mouth might be like, wow, I can't believe I just said that, but I
mm,
felt it and I need to put it out there. But sometimes you also know, like, yo, you might not want to put these ideas out, and at least it's a conscious decision.
mm,
Whereas, like, if I tell kids, like, to smoking crack is cool, and
mm,
you do it in a nice sounding song, like it's gonna make hundreds of kids want to smoke crack. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think about that. Sometimes it got to be part of your reasoning as a responsible person and
mm,
artist. So I just I love working with them because I see, like, they're so talented, and I learn stuff from them from an artistic level. And also it's like it makes you remember what it was to be in their place, you know, where it's like you have a lot of dreams and there's a lot of people trying to just limit your thoughts
Mm,
or trying to push you on that direction. It's like I used to be mad sometimes because like some of the kids will come to our workshop and they used to love it, they used to rap and all that, and then they'll stop coming and you're like, why you stop coming? It's like, oh, at the same time as your workshop, they're paying us to take cooking classes. And I'm like, okay, it's not bad to cook, but so they basically paying you guys so you guys could like cook for rich people like in 1 or 2 years in Manhattan instead of like, you know, developing your creativity. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you're narrowing what you feel like they should be doing. And some of them might be, there's nothing wrong being a cook. Some might want to do that, which is it's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like you're giving people money. You're not giving people money to be creative. You're not giving people money to become engineers or whatever in those type of schools. You're paying them so they could be part of the service industry and be of service to like people with a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So little things like that, I really didn't appreciate about our system. You know?
um, I watched you. You were being interviewed. The Essence Festival. I think you had just finished performing, and then they were asking you some questions. Um, was that 2017, the Essence
Yeah,
Festival? You,
yeah,
right? And so now in 2021, like, because at that time, you know, you're talking about being an independent artist, and you say things like, learn the business, be professional, be on time, brand yourself through social media. You say things like show up. You know, it's all about starting with yourself, you know, not waiting for someone to discover you, working, you know, doing the work on your own and knowing your worth. Now let's fast forward, right, to 2021. How have you evolved and grown as an artist since then? Because you've put out a lot of great work. um
yeah. That was a great time. That was a great memory. Rocking at the Essence Fest. Like I seen so many like big celebrities. You know what I mean? It was just I'd never been around like that many celebrities. It's kind of wild just to see that in person. Um, it's funny that you tell me that because now you're reminding me what I used to say, but I still stick to those principles, and I felt like they've worked. I mean, since then I have so many more projects. So I built up a discography where people could just refer to different chapters of my life or different moods and stuff like that. And you know, doing better than I used to be. You know, my life definitely improved. I'm more and more comfortable doing what I do and able to do it more. Like I've collaborated with like so many great artists. Like lately, I've collaborated with Kenneth from the group I Am, what I mentioned at the beginning. I grew up to them. I'm a huge fan of them. So being consistent and being professional. And for example, like let's say Kenneth, right? He's been doing it for 30 years, which is rare, and still like killing it. And platinum, gold plaques, like wrote books, made movies. He reached out to me. Like we met at one of his shows. I was invited by a friend, and he said he knew my music. Of course, I knew his music. I was a fan, and he invited me on his project. And he's seen how I worked with whatever concept he gave me. So seeing that, a few weeks later, like a month later, he called me and asked me he wanted to produce projects for me, and like as a producer. And he said, because I seen the way you work, and it's like, you know, it made sense for him. And that's what I mean. It's like, yo, you could be the greatest artist in the world. It's like everything is like it's not just the talent, it's not just the art that you put in, it's everything together. It's like people gotta want to work with you. You have to be, you have to be something where when people have worked with you, they have a good memory. If like if you out there, you made people wait an hour every time, you text people back like a week later when it's important stuff, not just like, hey, what's up, how you doing? We're talking about like real stuff. It's like a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, Rosa, who knows what you're gonna be 5 years from now? But let's say you have something crazy. You might want to call me because you're like, yo, Napoleon, I like working with him, or vice versa. I remember Rosa, when we did something together, everything went real great. You know, she was great, she was professional, she did this and that. And I think our artists, they don't think long term. They just think about do what I need at the moment, and don't think that, 5, 10 years from now, whatever you do now is gonna affect that. And I was aware of that back then, where it's like, yo, look, if I focus, I do good music, I treat people right around me, I do good work, it's gonna come back to me, and it has. And I keep going like that, and I try to work with people that I enjoy, from a human standpoint and from an artistic standpoint, and I move slowly and I build. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for a so-called overnight success. You know what I mean? I'm just look to make good stuff every day. And I think if I make good stuff every day, if I'm honest every day, if I try to get work on my craft every day, that it's gonna lead me somewhere. So, and I still think like that till this day. So, like, my mind state from that standpoint hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah, because I think I've said to you a couple of, I'm always like hashtag beast mode, because like honestly, like even during the pandemic, it was just like, I think as a fan, as someone from the outside looking in, I see that work ethic. Something else you said in the interview was you're using yourself as a test
Right.
to show your growth.
Right.
And it's so cool to hear you saying, hey, I still hold true to those values. Like, you, man, the grind and the you do not let up. And it's not like you're just kind of like, I'm gonna just put anything out there. I mean,
Right.
we're taking lyrical quality, good stuff, real talk, stuff that resonates with so many different people, regardless of the journey or the path that you're walking. I mean, that's it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I try to take the opportunities that come to me too. And sometimes it's not exactly what I would have done, but it is just like, okay, this person has an idea. Let me see how I could work around that idea. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's my idea. Like, it depends on the projects. Like, the anime stuff is all me, because I wanted producers to produce this stuff, but they just didn't understand. Like, I would tell them, I want to take some Dragon Ball music and flip it. And I would hear the beat and I don't recognize the sample because they chopped it up so much. And I'm like, yo, the beat is nice, but you have to know it's Dragon Ball for it to make sense.
Right.
Like, they didn't understand what I was trying to do. So that's why even Bronze Saints with Saint Say, that was the first one. I produced it all myself. Then Fist of the North Star, then Dragon Ball. I produced all that all myself because I was the only one that could put that vision together. It was in my head. Like Afro Streets, same thing. But there's some projects like the Kenneth's project, like Dada's project, Stuff for Legends, like where they have their idea, and then I'm like, I try to put my thing on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a collaboration sometimes, and yeah, I just try to keep it high quality and just work on I'm making it as good as I can, and being as honest too. Being honest is a big thing, because at the end of the day, if people recognize my soul in the songs, I think it's the best thing.
Yeah, man, like, it's so funny because, like, I know, like, a lot of artists, I like their music, and they're anime fans, man, and I'm like, damn, because I live in Japan, and I'm like, man,
Right.
I need to get on that buzz. But when I was listening to, I think it was the Stuff of Legend. There's this, one of the songs is it The Legend of Kappa or something, right? It's a Japanese, right? It's a Japanese thing. Look, I was Googling that. I was like, yo, I didn't even know. So, it's so funny, like all the, the tracks where you got the anime thing going on. I'm like, yo, it's like I'm learning, right? Because I'm like, I love the beat. I'm hearing the lyrics, but damn, I gotta look this up. I didn't know. I'm like, I gotta get on that, So, and I was actually gutted because honestly, I didn't even think, to be honest. I was like, I got nothing to lose. Let me just send him a DM. Yo, when you sent back, I was like, what? Oh my God. Because currently, like, I'm in quarantine in New Zealand. So I'm back home. But I was like, yo, I didn't even bring my, my Dragon Ball G hoodie. I was like, man, no, I missed the opportunity. Damn. So, anyways, stop with my stories. Let's move right along. When did you get to the? I've heard you say in several interviews where you like talk about this whole thing. Like, you know what? I realized I don't care. I'm just gonna do what moves me. I'm gonna put out music. When did that actually happen? When did you get? What was the point where you were just like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and if people like it, yo, that's what's up. If not, it's okay.
Right. It's a great question. I think it was I after my first album, official album was Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that together and stuff like that, and show people that I exist, I am, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I think once I started doing, I got for 3 years I was stuck in like this whirlwind because I had just moved to New York, and I was doing a lot of features. Because when people see you got skills like in cities like that where there's a lot of artists, people want to work with you. I want to work from you, and then I started getting asked to do shows, and I was doing shows all over the place. A lot of times with Crazy DJ Bizarro, Dysfunctional Family, and stuff like that. Then I realized, like, damn, like I don't have no new music out, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I need to have music to back up myself as an artist. You know what I mean? Like, I need to have some recordings that people could refer to, because it can't just be, yo, I heard you spit it at this show. I heard you do this feature verse. You're dope. It's just like I want people to talk about my projects, my albums. So I did this mixtape series. I did 1 and 2, and I took a lot of pleasure into doing those mixtapes because it allowed me to be very free and to explore different things. And after that, in 2018, when I think I put out 10 projects, I really got into a groove where it's like, yo, I know how to put a project together. Like I realized like it's a skill too, and I know how to do it now. Like I'm still learning, but I get the gist of it. And every idea, it was a challenge, and it was a pleasure for me to have an idea and give it to and make it manifest it into reality. So it's like I remember the first one from that era was the Topographer thing. And so
right. Oh my God.
I did that project in 4 days. So it's like from the idea, I'm like, look, I'm gonna take a whole bunch of Pac songs, and this was it. I'm gonna take Pac songs, redo some, but since Pac got all these great interviews, I'm gonna use his interviews and make him narrate my own project, because there's enough of him saying a lot of stuff. Like I got interviewed him talking about Trump. He's been dead for like so many years. So it's like I was like, this is so cool. And from the time I got the idea to when it was done, it took me 4 days. And when I did that, I was like, wow, okay. That just felt good. Like for me, it just felt it's like, I was able to do this piece of work in like a few days. Like, what other ideas? That's why, like, the ideas of anime and stuff that was in my head for so long, it was like, yo, I could actually make this happen on my own. And then I just went crazy creatively, like, yo, what could I do? I could do an let me do an Afrobeat hip hop album. Let me do this, let me do that. And just having fun with it, just pushing the limit to what I'm doing. I'm still pushing the limit. And sometimes it gives me a headache, because the easiest thing for me to do is just to rap. You know what I mean? You give me a beat, write a song, write verses and stuff, but I try to push the limits a little beyond. Like, can I rap to this also, make it sound dope? Can I do this and that? You know what I mean?
Man, that Tupac tribute is so dope.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it's just like, yo, see alive again. It just brings back so many cool, memories, and his music, and then you're rapping over that. It's just innovative. It's different, right? I love it. And then like I love how you do I really, really, what's cool is when you do those freestyles and stuff on IG, right? Post them on IG. live. And then, when I listen to Afro Street, and then it's got snippets of that, those
Right.
my favorite like freestyles of it. I'm like, oh bro, man, this is what's up. Like seriously, man, so cool.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
I try to create like a whole universe. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
right.
like I could create. I'm building a world. I'm in world building like video games. You know, you play Zelda or something. It's like a
Mhm,
world, and that's what people in the Japanese mangas and stuff like Dragon Ball
mm,
is a world, One Piece is a world. Like they build worlds, and that's why I want to do with mine, where you could hear references from different albums that lead to this album, that lead to that, that
mm.
lead to that, and then it's like, yo, he built a whole universe. You know what I mean?
Man, so I counted it. I didn't want to be that guy, but I was that guy. I was like, let me count the projects. And I think I counted like 29. I mean, is it 29 projects to date since 2013, since your debut
Right, right, right.
album? I mean, I know you've done a lot of features and, singles here and there, but actual albums, bro, that's so much. And I know you probably get asked this question all the time. And is there a favorite, or is there one that really kind of like stands out in your mind as this is the one that speaks really me?
It's a very tough question, because it's like they're all like my babies. You know what I'm saying? Like I gave birth to them. You know what I'm saying? It's that they're my children. But like I mean, of course, there's a few. I think maybe Bron Saints, when I hear it back, I like it sticks out a little bit because it's the first album that I produced myself.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And so I took care of every aspect of it. And a lot of the songs I get very personal in them. And it's because of the way I write. It's not like I don't wake up, or I don't tell a producer if somebody's giving me a beat, I want to write about this, or I want to write about that. I the music writes the song. Like I hear the music and then like, oh, okay, this makes me think about this. This makes me think about that. It's like and I just felt like Bron Saints, like the samples and the instrumentations from Seiji Yokohama, I think Yokohama. It's just so rich and so emotional that it made me speak about a lot of things. And that's why I like that, because I feel like it's so personal and it's so real about like my feelings and what I went through and things like that, that I feel like it's success from that level, from my personal
mm.
level.
You mentioned Akhenaton, right, earlier,
Yeah.
and just he was, always been one of your fave artists, and you guys have done like the whole of my heart, part 1, part 2, and 3. Fam, you got to check it out. I mean, brilliant. But man, I gotta learn French, bro. What is up with the translations? I'm like, come on, man. I love it. Just tell me about working with him on those projects. It's cool, man. I've already told you I have my favorites. I love some of those beats are so sick. I'm like, cut it out. Come on. And then the lyrics
Yeah.
perfectly with it.
Kenneth he's great. Like he's one of the people that brought hip hop to France. You know what I mean? Because he used to go to New York when he was younger. He had some family in Brooklyn, and he was around an MC Search, a whole bunch of people. Like he has a great history. Like, and so I grew up to listening to his group I Am. I didn't know that he produced half the songs, because there's 5 members to I Am, and Emotep and another brother produced a lot of the songs, and he produced the other half. And then K-Ops is a DJ, he produced 2 back then, but I didn't know he produced all that. And till the quarantine hit and COVID, they had a tour, I Am, with Live Nation that was canceled. And then he called me because he's working on an album. So he invited me on his album called Asteroid. We did a song where he did a French verse, I did English verse, and then we flipped it. That was like weird. Like, and I think that he couldn't have thought of that with any other artist than me. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of cool. And then when he called me, he's like, "Yo, you know, I produce half of the I am stuff. I'm really a producer, and I want to produce you. I haven't produced any artists for like I don't know how many years. It was like 7 years or something." And I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." So he just started sending me songs. And the thing about these beats is that, see, they live in France, so there's different rules when it comes to sampling and everything. And Dave have gotten through different projects in trouble with certain samples. So none of the beats on Holding My Heart 1, 2, 3 have any samples in them. Like everything is played or everything is so, and a lot of people don't even know that. You know what I'm saying? So and he just sent me these beats and I just started writing, and it was like, yeah, it was like clockwork. It was easy. You know what I'm saying? To me, it was just like, yo, I'm doing what I love. And we ended up, we was gonna do one project, but what ended up happening was that I just kept recording because he was sending a lot of beats, like pick the ones you want. And I just like did like, I guess 24 songs. And then he was like, yo, let's make this into a 3-part thing instead of just doing, you know, one project. So we could give people like in installments, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it was like 3 parts. So it was cool. And then he asked me to invite some of the people that I liked on it. So, you know, I got Sky Zoo, I got my boy Sunez, I got Naps and Drez, I got Nejma Nefertiti.
Oh, she is so fire.
Yeah,
I mean, she is the bomb, man.
Nejma's the freaking bomb. I got my boy B Bass, Denny Hines from Australia.
Yeah.
It was cool, man. It was like an adventure, and I'm just happy that it turned out the way it did. And I was able to go to Marseille and meet them at their studio called La Cusca, and it's also the name of their label. So I got to meet the group. They interviewed me on their show, and they showed me a lot of love. I was there on my birthday. They made like a birthday cake with the thing. It was crazy. It was you know, one of my best experiences. You know, being honored by a group that you grew up to listening to like that, and then being like great human beings too. I just felt really honored, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just thankful. And then we got to do songs in French. We did that song Retroviseur where we shot the video on beach Napoleon, on Napoleon Beach in France.
Right.
And that was fun.
Like, how difficult is it? Like, I mean, just going back, because like you learned how to speak, like French was your first language, right? And then you came to the States, and then you had to learn. So through music, through hip hop, you're learning English. But now, like currently, you're just spitting rhymes in French, bro. You're like all bilingual and stuff. How difficult is it for you to write rhymes in French? Like actually,
you know, I had neglected French for a lot of years because just living in America and just not having anybody to speak with. But I would still read stuff here and there, you know. So it's not like I lost it, but it's the speaking part. You know, you have to speak. You have to speak something often in order not to lose it. It's like a muscle, you know. But I guess I have like muscle memory, so when I started speaking again, it got back. And then when I decided, I think it was 2019. Actually, after I met I Am and I started speaking a lot with Saeed, who's a singer in that group, and it just gave me the feeling to want to rap in French, because I'm like, yo, you know what? Let me try to see how it would sound. I mean, I could just record a song just for fun. And I recorded that. The first song I recorded was, I have a video for it now called De Rien. That was the first time. And I'm like, yo, this sounds dope. And I could do it. And it's like, it has its challenges, of course, but I heard the words the same way. It's like really how to spit it and how to make it sound natural. You know what I mean? Like that just takes a little bit more time, maybe to record, to be like, I don't like the way I sound saying this line. I don't like the way my accent sounds here and here, and just have to fix it. But now that I'm doing it a little bit more often, it's like everything else is getting easier, and it's a lot of fun. I'm having as much, if not a little more fun rapping in French because it's new to me now, you know?
And it just, I think I've said this, like I'm always commenting, yo, it just hits different. And it, you know, when it's in French, or when it's like when people rap in Samoan or sing in Samoan, you know, I'm moved because I'm like, that's my language. It's you hear it out there on the internet, when you hear it's awesome, bro. Like it's just so special. I'm like, yo, I need to learn French. I'm looking at translations. Where is come on, someone out there on the internet, write a translation for this French song. But even like when like obviously pre-COVID times, but when you were, out there touring and rocking these concerts and gigs and stuff like that, like when you're in countries that don't necessarily speak English,
Mhm.
but they're like spitting your rhymes. I mean, how does it feel, when you're rhyming in English, but they don't speak English, but they're
Yeah.
like they know all the words.
I
What
mean,
is
it,
that
feels-
like for
it feels incredible. Like there's nothing like it. That's why as you do it as an artist, like the rewards from my experience come later. And it's like you have to go through a lot of periods as an artist. I mean, I'm talking from my experience. It's sort of like it's
you?
everybody's experience. I don't know everybody else's experience, but I went through a lot of periods doing what I do without getting any type of feedback, or maybe a little bit of feedback from friends here and there, people that would hear
Mm,
it, but I wouldn't necessarily know it was dope. But then when you go on tour and then you have the opportunity to travel somewhere. First of all, if people are asking you to do shows and flying you places and paying you to do shows other places, you already have an idea that means there must be some sort of demand of people like you. So you're already kind of prepared, like, oh, people like my stuff. But then when you see it in person, it's
mm,
it's just it's just incredible, man. It's addictive, man. You could get lost in it because you're just like, wow, like this is something I did by myself in my
mm,
little room in Brooklyn, and I'm in like Czech Republic somewhere where I have never even, I don't know nothing about, and people out there rocking with me. It's incredible,
mm.
and it's just the power of music and the power of just artistry and just I don't know, man, rhythm, I guess, man, because it's like those drums, the rhythm comes from Africa, and
Yes.
and from other places, but it's an indigenous thing, and like you just see it resonates everywhere. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Once you create vibrations like that, it goes everywhere. It's just incredible to me.
Is it important for you to maintain um connection to your roots, to your homeland, to the Comoros Islands, to your to that part of your identity and culture? Do you have a fan base there? Just
Uh,
do people know
it-
who you are?
it's very important to me because it's like my father used to always say, you gotta know where you're from to know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the roots are so important.
Mm,
Um, yeah, actually, I do. Like I didn't know, or I built one. I don't know which one it is. It's just I did my first interview in French, and that's also what got me into rapping in French. I
mm,
did from a Comorian media called Media Pack, and they invited me, and I did this interview, and within a few days, it had over 100,000 views, and like a lot of people, I think, discovered me from there. Like, oh, there's a Comorian rapper that's in Brooklyn doing it, and I did it in French. It's the first time I did an interview in French, and I think that may open my eyes to be like, yo, let me try to rap in French because Comorians, they speak Comorian, which is a form of Swahili, and French mostly, a lot more than English. So I felt like I could communicate potentially more to them, and yeah, I see a lot. When I post stuff, I see a lot of Comorian flags under my
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
A lot of
That's
people are
cool.
very supportive, and I love it. It's been a while since I went back. Um, my mother's currently over there, so hopefully soon I'll be able to go back and visit, and
Mm,
I think it's very important for me to show people and make them understand who I am as an artist. Because when I call myself the anti-rapper, people might say, why? It's just like, look, I come from a different place. So it's like, I cannot only be talking about getting to the bag, you know what I mean? Because while I have cousins overseas that are like, you know, hungry sometimes, or that don't have electricity and stuff like that, and I got new Jordans or new things like that, like I have to be aware of what's going on because it's part of my reality. So I have to show y'all my reality too, so you guys can understand. I'm not doing that to condescend and to say, oh, it's wrong to like get to the bag or to wear nice clothes or things like that. It's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that, yo, we have to see what's important in our lives. And I come from this place, and these are the values that come from this place, and this is what makes me. And maybe you guys will have find something y'all like from it. It's just like when I do a lot of Japanese stuff, Japanese animes and Japanese things. It's like I'm not an expert at all of Japanese culture, but I'm familiar with it through that art form. So I try to show people like, look, man, that art form, I could make this into hip hop. Yo, Africa hip hop probably originates from Africa, to be honest, because that's where a lot of this types of rhythms originate from. Um, Maybe not in the form that it came in America, but like the drums and certain rhythms and things like that. So going back to Afro Street is just telling people like, yo, this is who I am. Don't get it twisted. I know you hear me speak and you might think like I'm American, but no, I'm like everybody else. I come from somewhere else, and it is what it is. Like learn about it. You know, it's gonna make you better. Like you can travel through my music without having to pay a ticket. You know.
Hard. I mean, I think, culture, language, your identity, me living in Japan, I think it made me definitely more, um, I just wanted to be so much more connected to my Samoan culture, to my language. Every chance I get to speak it, I'll speak it. Um, and I love Japan, but it's right here. Wherever I go in the world, my Samoan heritage, it just your name that you carry with you, it's right there wherever you go. So that resonates. Like I feel. I mean, I'm not a hip hop artist. Hello, but like I don't rap. But yeah, I definitely feel
Yeah,
it kind
you
of
have
make
your way of carrying your heritage.
yeah for real. So you know, I want to ask you about book recommendations, but just before that, there was this line, in the hole in my heart part one, the hole in my heart, that song, bro, that was uh, I think I told you it made me feel some kind of way, man. Just that story of your, but I've heard it in other parts of in other albums you've done. You
Right,
always like these snippets of your journey, right?
right.
It's real like in your right here. But there's this line where, and I don't even know if this is, there's this line about a whole master's degree, minimum wage job at CVS. I couldn't turn it down with a whole master's degree. I was making 750. I was like, does he have a master's degree? Like, or
Yeah,
is that
yeah. Not actually, I do, and that's why that hole in my heart. I wanted to explain to people certain things. Like I have an MBA degree. Uh,
mm,
and I got it from Maryland University back
mm.
in Maryland, and I never really got to use it at
I
all
wanted to know, like,
because of the economy. Like,
mm,
yo, like the economy, it was such where like even with that, I couldn't get a job. Like I was trying,
mm,
it's not like there was times in my life where I was like, yo, rap is not gonna do nothing for me. Like, I can't make it. I'm not in New York. I try, but it's not connecting. So I have to
mm,
work. I have to live. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna, I see my boys getting locked up for doing all types of illicit stuff. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's drug trade, gun trade, all types of stuff. I'm like, it's not for me. I just want to be able to be comfortable and be good. You know what I'm saying? I don't and be productive in this world. So yeah, I've got a master's degree. Um, my father went through this thing where he died. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? It was like a whole story that surrounded, and
mm,
I had to be by his side for a long time. And means I wasn't doing nothing but being by his side. So like I got evicted from my apartment in America and everything. I'm in the Comoros. Then he got flown to France. I'm in France. Then he ends up dying. I had to go back to Comoros to bury him, do all types of stuff. So all that's true. And then
mm,
I'm over here with a degree. Like, okay, I need to make some money now. And I had to actually move back in with my mom because I had no apartment. And thank God my mom was living in Maryland at the time. And I'm trying to get jobs and nobody wants to hire me because they'll be like, you got a master, but you have no experience. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? How could I get the experience if you guys don't give me a chance? And I'm saying this story because I know it happens to a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of people that are very, very smart that could have made, working at like a S&P 500 company, like never get that chance and never get that look. You know what I'm saying? And I talking to my boy, rest in peace to Michael Brooks, the same way, smart guy, ended up blowing up, becoming a YouTuber. Like if people would have known how smart this guy was, I'm sure like a Google, one of these big companies would have snatched him up. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what would happen? Who knows if I was working for a company and making 6-figure salary, would I have even wanted to rap? This rap, it's a lot like boxing. It's like, it's in my heart. I love to do it. But there's also a part of me being from America and the way the economy works. It's like I need to survive. So it's like it has to make sense. So we gotta hustle within it, and I have to. And if I'm not with a label, I have to be my own entrepreneur, and I have to make this money, or else I'm not gonna be able to rap. Like I put a message on my Facebook page the other day, said like, "Yo, for real, without y'all, I can't do this. It's real. Like, what am I gonna do? Like." I'm gonna start to death. There's bills that gotta be paid. There's things that's gotta do. I'm trying to get jobs. The only job that I could get was at CVS. CVS, I don't know if you know what that is. That's like a
supermarket or something?
Not a supermarket. It's like a drugstore, like a pharmacy type thing, but it's like a convenience store. It's like it has like pharmacy and convenience store. And the only reason I got it is because a childhood friends was the manager there. Living like it was like walking distance from my mom's house. And I used to play basketball with him. Shout out to Anson, my boy Anson. And he hired me. And he hired me as like, I was a cashier and I was making minimum wage. I don't even, to be honest with you, I think it was $7.15, not even $7.25. It was like after that, I started thinking, I'm like, I don't even think I was making $7.50. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I did all this work studying, and I'm like doing like all this like hard work, man. Like we're talking about 2 a.m. in the morning. I have to be at work. A big truck comes in with a whole bunch of things in it. We had to empty the whole truck, put it in the store before it opens at like 7 a.m. or something. And sometimes we're past 7 a.m. still putting things together because it takes so long. It's only like 2-3 of us, people calling sick. You know how it is, like regular life, like job stuff. And I'm like, I wanted to show people that reality because it's like this happens for a lot of people. It's like society cannot work if you're telling people you got to go to school, and then they go to school and they can't even get a job for different reasons. Sometimes I felt maybe it was because of the way I looked. Maybe it was because of my name. Maybe it's this and that. Like some other people would get opportunities I couldn't get. Some people never gave me a chance. And so I had to survive. I had to give myself a chance. And after a while, through work and through everything, I just like, yo, it's time for me to go to New York, because I would go to New York and I knew this girl who my boy knew who had an extra room. Is like, anytime y'all need to shoot videos, you could just come over there in Brooklyn. And so that's what started me going to New York and meeting people and doing things like that. And like, I need to be here for music, you know what I mean? And I'm glad I did it. I took that chance to like go over there, because a lot of people are like, wow, New York is tough. There's a lot of competition. It's expensive. But I'm like, yo, I don't have nothing to lose, because being at these jobs, like when you're not happy and you could do more, it's just like it kills you inside. You know what I'm saying? Because you're sitting there for hours, and the whole time you're thinking about what you could be doing outside of it, and that's mentally, like it messes with you mentally. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I think now the more I talk about it, where people are like, yo, how do you get all this music out? Like, imagine me, I was in jobs and doing things I didn't want to do for hours on end, thinking about music and thinking about things I could do. And now that I get a chance to do it, you best believe I'm not going to squander that opportunity, and I'm going to make the most of it. So that's why I use time the way I do. And it feels like, it feels like the world is about to end tomorrow. That's the way I live. That's the way I make music, because I used to be stuck where I couldn't do it. I didn't have the opportunity to do it. I was just sitting there with like, oh, this whole world is spinning and things are happening. And I'm over here like getting yelled at by somebody who doesn't even know me because of something that wasn't even my fault. And it's like, now I'm free of that because of the work I put in. Your best believe I'm gonna make the most. I rather like I tell a lot of people, I'd rather pimp myself than being pimped by somebody else. So pimping, I'm just like, yo, Napoleon, wake up, write a song, wake up, finish this project. Instead of just like, just going outside and doing, all types of drugs or things that's gonna slow me down. Like I'm on a mission because I'm like, I seen the other side. I did it for years of being like, damn. And then there was, that's before I started wanting to do music again, because I mean, when I lost my dad, I was demoralized. I didn't want to do music. I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to. Nothing made me happy no more. But once I started wanting to make music, then I would come home and start making music and stuff. But then I realized, especially in New York, that if I really, really want to be good at this and do this and give respect to hip hop the way I got to do, I have to give my whole time on it. So like, that's when I quit my work and was like, people said I was crazy then. People were like, yo, what are you doing? Like, yo, you ain't got. I'm like, look, I have to try this. If I don't try this, and if I didn't, I wouldn't, like this catalog that I have, nobody would ever hear it. It would just it would have died in my head.
Man, I always see on your Instagram stories that you're reading a book. I mean, obviously you're putting music and content out there, but every now and then I'm like, yo, what is this guy reading? Have you always been a reader?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I go through phases though, like there's phases where like, when I start to read, I want to read more. You know what I mean? It gets infectious. I'm like, wow, this is fun. And then when I lose the habit of reading, it's like it's hard for me to get back into a book. But I've always, had books around and read a lot of books. I used to pick up books that my mother used to read, pick up books my dad used to read, like just random things. I would read about anything. It'd be like spirituality books. It'd be economy books. It'd be a lot of stuff, and I kept it up. You know what I mean? I think like it's important. It makes me, and it just makes me a better person to read, I think.
Do you have any book recommendations, or can you think of a book? Oh, the man's ready. That's what.
Yeah, for sure. Like I just finished this the other day, right? This book is called Avengers of the New World, and it was a gift. Avengers of the New World. And this book is about the Haitian Revolution, the history of the Haitian Revolution. So it's like probably spans for like 10 years, a little less than 10 years. And because in Haiti, it was the first time enslaved people actually like made themselves free, through war, and they actually was successful. They actually freed themselves. And it's a history that's not told a lot, because I don't think the quote unquote enslavers, the colonizers, like that story to be told, because even when it was happening, it was in the 1800s, the early 1800s, late 1700s. Like other countries like the British and America, they didn't like that, because the slaves in their countries were getting ideas. Like in Jamaica, they were like, oh, did you see what's going on in Haiti? Like these people like went to war and just freed themselves. So it was about the main guy. There's a lot of main people. Is like Toussaint Louverture, who was like a general who himself used to be a slave. Then he owned his slave. He got free. He owned his slaves and stuff, but he became a general and like fought first alongside of the French, but then he's fought against the French and got free. But he ended up dying. And he actually, the reason why I also wanted to read it, because also to atone for the nickname that I've been given, which is Napoleon. Right. Napoleon was actually against that. He actually fought against Toussaint, and there was, he actually, wanted to reinstate slavery. And it was like, it's such a complicated story, but such a great story about liberation and how, you know, you have to fight for what you believe in and everything. And yeah, I believe I'm gonna probably end up doing a project around this some way, sometime,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
just to put it to life. So I recommend everybody to read it just to understand how economy works, because you could even see the parallels with today's economy, how it used to be, because it was just people working and wanting more rights, you know, and it wasn't like, even when the slavery stopped, it wasn't like these people were doing great, but at least they had freedoms, but they still needed more rights and things like that. Because, and okay, so I put this second book called Take Hold of History, Make America Radical Again by Professor Harvey K, which is a
Okay.
professor emeritus at Wisconsin University. And I became friends with Harvey K um, after Michael Brooks, rest in peace, died. You know, because he was also a mentor for Michael Brooks, and then he saw me talk about Michael Brooks and reached out to me, and we became real friends. You know what I mean? And you know, I never had a friend that was like a big university professor,
Right.
author, and stuff. So he's just been a great person, like encourager, like been encouraging me to put my voice out there and do like more shows where I talk about politics and things like that and show that facet of me. And this book is speeches he's given through his career at different universities, and he's talking a lot about FDR, which is Roosevelt, a president that did the Green New Deal back in the day during the World War II times and things. It's the reason why America has Social Security and a lot of things, labor rights and things like that. So I think it's an important book to read because it shows, just like the Haitian Revolution, you have to be engaged and fight for things to move forward, you know, because things move forward because people are engaged. If people are like, you know, I don't have the time, I don't care, and this and that, I mean, you're gonna keep getting exploited, and your kids are gonna keep getting exploited, and your grandkids are gonna keep be exploited. And this is for everyday people, of course. If you're born with, you know, your parents being multimillionaires or billionaires, it doesn't apply to you, but most of us are not that. So, you know, I think you should definitely be engaged. And there's a third book, which is a Kenneton, La
Yo,
Face,
you did a book?
which is the B-side. Yeah, it's a very, very, yo, I love this book right there. It was like, out of all these books, it was the easiest one to read. It's basically his autobiography. And I read it, you know, when I started working with him, you know, and we would talk sometimes, you know, about music, about certain things, but I didn't want to like interview him because I had so many questions and things like that. So I'm like, yo, he got a book. Let me just read his book so I don't have to ask him a million questions, you know, and find out more about him. So it's a very interesting book about him growing up in Marseille from an Italian immigrant family, because he has Italian roots, and then going to Brooklyn when he was younger and how he got signed and how he came up in the hip hop game. And I learned so much, and just feel blessed that, you know, able to know him and work with him and his group. It's just been such a blessing to me. And yeah, so I'm a curious guy, so I wanted to learn about him without like, you know, like bothering him with like a million questions, which I think everybody does when they meet him and they're fans of him. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that. Oh, because, you know, rather than I've, you know, got a million questions. So this is what I'm going to say to you, Napoleon the Legend. I
Right.
have a million questions, but I'm gonna just wait for you to put out your book, and then that will probably answer the
Well,
millions of
but
questions
no,
that
but you know, you have a podcast, so you're this is an actual interview. You know what I'm saying? It's like me, I'm working making music with the guy. You know, it's not like I don't want to become an interviewer when I'm making music with him. That's the thing. This
for
is a
real,
different
for real.
thing. But now,
But you
hopefully,
know,
one day I'll be able to tell my story in more detail. You know,
I hope so, man. You gotta write a book, bro.
yeah, I know. I just, you know, I do a lot of music, and this is what people don't realize is that, you know, it takes time to do what I do, and the way people see me put music out, I think I make it look very easy.
You do.
and,
You're like,
and people
got
don't
this.
realize it just takes time. So sometimes, you know, like I'm not doing certain things that other people are doing because I'm thinking or I'm creating some things. I'm making, producing, I'm writing, I'm recording, I'm listening to myself after I record to make sure it's right.
Mm,
So, you know, like some of the albums you listen to, like I listened to for a year before I put them out. You know what I'm saying? Or I listened to for 6 months or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because I have to make sure this mix is right, this rhyme is right. I mean, if I see a word that's wrong, I'm gonna change it. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. So people need to realize that yeah, even though I do make it seem like it's easy, it's a lot of work, and I do a lot of it myself. I'm self-produced, obviously, through my own label and everything. So it takes extra time and extra care that I need to put that, whereas other people might have like 5, 6 people working with them on a project. It's not the case with me most of the time.
You know, earlier, so the podcast dropped back in April, and the second interview was with Brian Bars Burns, and then he was just like, he knows how much I love your music. He's like, oh, you know, he just naturally just drops it in there that he's like, you know, hoping to collab. He's doing collab with you. I was like, what? Oh my god! Like I got super excited. Yeah, so I
Shout
think
out
I.
to Brian Bars Burns because I think he's dope. I saw him online. I'm like,
Right.
this guy could rap. He has great energy. He has a great voice. And so I invited him on a song, but it's on a future project that's not released. Like I got a lot of future projects.
Yeah,
So
you got. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you
yeah.
do.
But that definitely, I love working with cats like that. And like he comes across, I don't know him that well, but he comes across as a good guy, which is a
Mm,
plus, man. It's like artistically, I could like you and want to work with you because you're a dope artist.
mm,
But sometimes I'd rather not know you because if for some reason I don't like you, I'm gonna have a hard time being enthusiastic about working with you. You know what I mean? So and people don't think about that either. Like I see online people always like tagging different artists. Oh, I
right,
want a song with this and that. Like I don't know that person. Like, you know what I
right.
mean? Like that person might be dope, but I don't know that person. And there has to be it unless there's something that makes sense. Like it has to be like a human, some sort of human connection there for something to happen, I think, and for it
Mm.
to be real and for it to be authentic, you know. And I think Brian Burns, Bars Burns, he just has a good worldview. He's a good guy and he's dope as hell. So he deserves to be put out there. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's funny because I watched the recent interview that you did with Nezra Nefertiti, and she said the same thing. You know, people are tagging you and they're like, you should work with this person, but it's hard when you don't know. Like, you know, she was
Right.
saying the same thing in that interview, right? It's just
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of arrogance too. Sometimes like cats like I don't want to work with him. Who's he? Whatever. He's not cool enough, or he's not.
mm,
So it's like I try to keep myself out of that whole social thing where
mm,
I just want to make dope music with dope people is the most important thing. Like um it, yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's hard for me to do it any other way because my music is so personal. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
my music it's not like I'm not often talking about generic things. I'm talking about a lot of personal things and a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions. So I gotta like the person to a
mm.
certain extent to work with them. If I don't like you, I'm like, yeah, you might have a nice buzz and you might do this and that, but I don't know, you're not really an interesting person to me. It's hard. Not saying I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes you can like somebody and then not like them years later because of different reasons. But I think the human aspect is important, like the worldview, because we're trying to we're trying to show another reflection of the world. You know, we're showing what the world is, but we're also having ideas of what we feel like it should be. And I think that's like Brian, he fits into that. Nejma fits into that. Kenneth
Mm,
fits into that. They've been doing that for years. I probably get part of that from them, you know. So
mm.
it's like I want to keep in that line of artists that's like, yo, um, things could be better. We could make it better. You know what I'm saying? It's people first, people first.
Word. So I'm going to just ask you just to drop some words of encouragement. But before, I always ask the guests, please drop some words of wisdom or encouragement for our listeners and audience. Before I do that, Napoleon the Legend, I'm humbled, bro. Thank you so much for coming through today, man. It's such an honor to have you here on the show. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. And I'm so glad that you were able to understand that this is a safe space for you to, to share and do, share about what you do. So much love and respect for your work, for your music that you put out there. I'll be looking out for that book, that memoir coming soon. No pressure. But yeah, bro, I appreciate you so much. All the best with projects. I'm sure you'll be dropping some more things later this year. So, all the best for that. I'm just gonna hand it over to you just to
Right.
yeah.
Yo, no, first off, like, thank you for having me. And just want to tell you that, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview too is because, I felt your vibe. You got this energetic, positive, enthusiastic vibe. And I know it's gonna make your platform great, and I'm happy that you're doing this because I know it comes from a good place. It's not you have there's something you want to express through your platform. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're talking about books and things like that, it's a positive thing. So I hope I wish great things for you always. And as for me, I do have more music coming, hopefully soon, hopefully in the next few months. So I'm very excited about that. I'm always excited. I'm always more excited for some reason. I just can't help of my future projects. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's what I listen to the most. What's y'all not listening to now? So I got that, and then I just want to tell people that first off, thank you for anybody who supports me and everything like that. It's I feel very privileged because look, man. And that's why, like I said, that's why the other day I wrote something on my social media for half the year, thanking people. Is that, look, I see a lot of artists who sometimes people get into different disciplines. I see artists because that's who I know more, but it could be people of different disciplines complaining about lack of support or your friends don't buy your things and this and that and the third. What you have to realize with this art and this music or whatever you're doing is that you don't have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could go ahead, go outside and jog. You could go and get a job. You could go do this, do that. Do it if you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I never set out to do it to complain about people liking me or not. And when I'm doing it and I see that people not are liking, sharing, supporting, I feel blessed. You know what I'm saying? I feel a great deal of gratitude because it doesn't have to be that. I could drop projects and nobody even mentions it. Nobody even cares. I could drop a verse. I think it's the best verse I ever wrote, and nobody hears it. It's like when you're screaming in the middle of a forest and nobody's around. Like, are you really screaming if nobody knows you're screaming? You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like it's a blessing to be able to do this and to get some positive feedback and some support from people. And that being said, just do things because you love it and because you want to do it. And if it becomes like a negative experience for you, maybe find something else to do. You know what I mean? Where it's gonna be a positive experience. Do something that's gonna feed your soul. You know what I mean? And I don't think you could go wrong if it's really, really actually feeding your soul. Like I'm aware that making music, rapping, and singing, whatever, making beats, it like feeds my soul like a great deal. And if people like it, it's like cherry on top. And if I could keep doing it, I mean, I'm the most thankful person in the world, and I'm gonna do my best because I remember being in these situations where I felt stuck, going nowhere, not able to like express myself, and so when the mic is in front of me, I'm gonna make sure I take care of that opportunity and do it carefully.